Yo, how do? Got Dad Spencer with me here. Would you like to say hello to the...
Hello there, guys.
Okay, Real Porridge, this is my third video this weekend. Daz and me used to work together, as it were, but only one of us... It's a cheesy line I'm going to use a lot. Only one of us had a set of keys.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we're good mates now. We're sat in his summer house. I'm going to make a short video for Real Porridge. I've got his slippers on. I've got a nice brew here, so I ain't going to be doing much talking. Just putting my dictaphone on. I'm recording this as well, just in case he comes back later and tries to sue me. Which you won't, would you?
No.
There we go. So, me and Dad Spence, we met, or I first became aware of him in 210. 210. I'm working on healthcare, been on there a couple of years. I'm looking for an orderly. I had a phone call from G-Wing that they were binning some of their shite staff. G-Wing's the induction wing, and Daz were one of them that were getting binned. So with my usual amazing perception and powers of deduction, I worked out he was an half decent lad, which we needed decent people on healthcare. It was hard work, but we also needed people with integrity. There's a lot of young staff. There's a lot of vulnerable prisoners, but we also have sex offenders, rapists, paedophiles and the like. So you need someone who's just going to get on with their job and not get involved in any sort of wing politics. So I'm going to hand you over to Daz. What I'd like to speak about today is his time in Strangeways. We will be interviewing him again, and his missus. He came in Strangeways, onto the Cat A unit, then onto G-Wing, the induction unit, then onto healthcare. So this is a bit of a taster for people, not from my perspective or point of view. I've done enough talking on that. Over to you, Daz. And if you can just say, you know, had you been in prison before, which prisons, and then we can compare them to Strangeways.
So yeah, I've been one or two before, Forest Bank and Kirkham, back in the early 2000, first taste of it. Very, very, very different to Strangeways. Forest Bank is much more to the older cons, the older people who've been in prison before. It was all new to me, but the older ones, we used to compare it to the wacky warehouse. Right, but all it's missing is a pool and a slide. He said because of the difference in the calling the officers the screws, boss or governor. It'd be first name terms or I am a hiya pal.
Did you go in the bank before you come to Strangeways?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Spent a week in the bank in 2001, and then went to Kirkham open prison. Totally different to thinking it was my first taste in prison. So yeah, very different. And then back in 2009, November, I ended up in Strangeways.
Just briefly, you don't have to go into detail. Why you ended up there and why you ended up on Cat A unit.
I was arrested for importing Class A's. There was 11 people arrested on a conspiracy, and with the amount of money that was involved, we first of all went on to G-Wing, spent a couple of weeks on there, got a cleaner's job on there. I was over in education on K-Wing when all the burly officers turned up. Get your stuff, you're moving. So where am I going then? So you're going over to Cat A's, so all of us.
Explain that procedure for people. So you're on K-Wing, yeah, which is remand wing.
Yeah.
Did they double cuff you in that?
Yeah.
So
dogs.
Yeah, exactly. So the guy's on K-Wing, this guy, as a remand prisoner. Did he strip search you?
Yeah, took it back to my cell. With dogs double cuffed me, took me back into the room. Then the lad I shared a cell with, I forget his name, he was like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Get out." So he got out, get your belongings together, then strip search to everything in plastic bags, checked, double checked, and then they opened the fire exit at the bottom of G-Wing. It went out the normal way, went out into, he's like, not the garden area because obviously it's a prison, into the open area, and then walked down with 6, 7, 8 officers and a dog by my side in double cuffs going, what the fuck happened then? Because 2 minutes ago I was on because I got a cleaner's job, we were on a health and safety awareness course of wet floors and not using mops for certain things, and I was just doing a bit of training on K-wing, and then the next minute picked up back to my room and landing the cells on the Cat A unit. And you're like, shit, what happened then?
So in brief, right, so most prisoners come into prison as category B, so Daz is Cat B. Like I said, the moment you are deemed high risk by the Home Office, or they make you a category A prisoner, everything changes. So even though you've been wandering about the wing, wandering about the jail, etc., it all changes immediately. You know, to the point that you move to the Cat A in cuffs with a dog. Category A prisoners deemed the highest risk. Used to be, easiest way to describe it for people who don't know what category A prisoners are, back in the 80s, mafia type people, IRA type people, they have the money and the means to get people out of prison, plus they have the contacts, so, you know, it's classed as very high risk. The amount of value involved in Daz's case meant that, you know, so there you go. Over to the Cat A unit, mate.
Yeah, so we got there, it was 9-10 of us sat in the waiting room, and the officer who was on just said, we've never had this many on Cat A's brought over across, what the bloody hell are you had in for? We explained to him what had gone on, and blah, and then that was it. It was a case of, right, we're going to have to make some room for you. So they started shuffling cells around. We spent a couple of hours down there, and then up you get taken up into the Cat A unit. A bit daunting, a bit different, certainly different.
Did you have a Cat A induction?
Yeah, there will have been some kind of induction. It was a bit of a whirlwind at the time.
So how long were you on the Cat A unit then?
I would have thought a month, 5
so
weeks.
Try and describe to people how that differed from being on G-wing or K-wing. What was different?
Well, it was more the security in the terms of once you got onto the Cat A unit, it was it was relaxed because you got your prisoners there doing life sentences more. They're not on power trips and they're not all wanting to fight and kill each other. It's more a case of, hey, you're all right. The officers were laid back. We'll play pool with you, have a bit of a laugh and joke with you. It was more laid back, but the feeling and the approach to the Cat A unit was like, shit, this is for real. The security on there was very, very intense. Searched.
More staff?
There was physically more staff. But I don't know whether that was because of the numbers were much lower. You see more officers about.
No, it is. There's the staffing levels for Cat A prisoners. I don't know what they are now, but they're definitely different to normal location. Obviously, more staff.
Yeah. Due
to the nature or potential risk of the people that are locking up. So, was there? We don't need to name them, but was there any characters on there? Did you feel you had to watch your back? Was it a different atmosphere to normal location? Yeah,
there was certainly some people you've seen in the news recently. The lads who tried to blow up the planes, the failed explosion ones. They were on there. I think they were doing life sentences.
Terrorists.
Yeah, terrorists were on there. There was a couple of faces that you didn't really want to engage with or speak to.
Why's that?
Just the hideous crimes that they committed.
Right, okay.
That if you spoke to them or engaged with them, that gut feeling that would come up inside you, an urge that you'd want to do some serious harm to somebody. And there was some friendly faces on there, and people that have obviously been there for 20, 30, done a long time, and were just cracking on with the jail. No mither at all. There was no mither on there. You got looked after in the case of you were treated with respect, dignity. You were spoken to as just a normal prisoner, certainly by the officers, and yeah, it was not too dissimilar to a normal wing, but the regime was a lot more strict. When you go through one door locked behind you, you'd always be accompanied to go through another door as another one locked, and the gateway in between were only 4-5 feet in between, and they got on the radio, unlock this one, right, unlock the next one.
Yeah. So would you have felt different? How do you think you might have felt if there hadn't been people on there? If you were just dumped on there on your own, would that have been a different feeling?
Yeah, certainly, because there was quite a few of us going on there. It was like you do in prison, you just get on, and it's like you up for a friendly face and want to say hello to, and we were fortunate in that way there's quite a few of us on there, and it was all blooming in the news at the time. So it was like, oh, blooming this is you lads, isn't it? But yeah, it was certainly different to normal view, especially when it come to legal visits or family and friends coming seeing you. There was just none.
Explain the difference between a normal visits room and a Cat A room.
Well,
just so people can get an idea of security level and that.
On the Cat A unit, on a normal visits room, you queue up 30-40 of you waiting to go up the staircase in to go and see the wife, girlfriend, whoever it is that's come to see you. It'd be much more laid back. And I think on the Cat A unit, as you got off the Cat A unit, you were cuffed. Although the visit, was on the Cat A unit. So your visitors would come in, you were searched, going through numerous doors to get to the unit, to the visitor centre in the first place. Your visitors much more stringently searched, and the bookings were a heck of a lot more. You couldn't just rock up and go, I've come to see whoever. From last week, it was more of a case of they need to be checked out. I made sure I remember that I didn't want any visits on there. I had illegal visits, I think I had 2 at the time, but I didn't want my wife and kids come and see me on the Cat A unit. It was just so strict, and the searches and what have you. So I didn't have any visits at all for that period of time until we ended up going back into the normal prison population.
So it wasn't a pleasurable experience?
No, certainly not. You knew you were being monitored and being watched a heck of a lot more, and the strip searches, very seldom would you have any clothes on.
Yeah, it's not, I've talked about that before. Strip searching people is not something I used to enjoy. You try and do it as much dignity as possible. Hopefully you're with a decent officer as well, because some, they just had no thought or anything, quite cold. But yeah, strip searching people, not pleasant at all. And being a high security jail, particularly Cat A's, you're getting strip searched all the time. Every time you leave your wing, return to the wing, it's all well documented. Obviously, deemed high risk, these people, and you don't want phones and things like that getting back onto the wing. If you heard the aeroplane, just briefly, without giving out Daz's secret location, we're in Cheshire, posh part of, is it Greater Manchester?
Yeah, Cheshire, Stockport.
Yeah, it's Stockport, mate, trust me. So Karen Bradbury, if you ever see this, just tell people who live in Stockport, love, not Cheshire. Okay.
Yeah.
It's nice to get a bit of sun though.
Common thing around here, that. It's not Stockport.
So Daz, right, Cat A unit, you've described that. Right, a lot of beef and that on social media, people going about prison inductions and things like that. Obviously you touched down in prison before, but try and describe to people what you considered or how you consider G-Wing ran. You'll obviously have seen people come in who've never been in prison before.
Yeah.
Just try and give people a feeling, whether you feel it was a good wing to be on, whether it's sort of catered for people, first timers and things like that, whether it felt safe, just an all round sort of feeling, if you can.
I mean, as soon as you land at a prison, you're looking for a smiley face, someone that say hello to. When we got on there, there was a lad on there that we knew from Salford, who was already on the cleaners. So when we landed, there was a few of us who were like, "Hey mate, you alright? Any chance to get us a job on the cleaners? What's the wing like? What's this like? What's that like? What's the regime like?" It was alright. I won't say it was laid back, because any reception area of any prison is going to have you, because you've got that much influx of people coming on, going. It changes day in, day out.
A busy wing.
Yeah. You certainly won't have the same faces day in, day out. Tomorrow morning there'll be new faces again. When we were on there, I got a job on the cleaners not too long into it before I had been spelled on the Cat A unit.
Why?
Just because we knew people on there, were decent enough people, but keeping the cells nice and clean, following the regime. So the officers who were in charge of sorting out the cleaners was like, yeah, no worries. Once one of us got a job on there, it was like, there was another place coming up next week, another place coming up in 2 days, he's getting out, and it was more of a case of, I think it ended up 6 of us that had jobs on there eventually. And it was alright, and you knew when people come through the door whether they'd been in prison before, without speaking to them, just by the look on the face, the demeanour, the posture, whether they're looking at the floor, they're making eye contact, looking at people, and you, depending on the situation and stuff like that, I mean, you certainly
did you go through, sorry for interrupt, did you go through the induction on G-Wing like everyone else?
Yeah.
There's 2 in there. There's a full induction and a fast track. So which one did you do?
Can't remember. If I'm
Well,
honest,
just again, try and
I think it
tell
was a day or
people.
two.
You know, try and think back to that induction, whether it were useful, whether it was something you just had to go through, so you just sat there, not listening, the sort of delivery, you know, whether people taking it, you know what they were talking about, or they just, you know, were going through the motions.
Yeah,
just to try and.
Yeah, it was more a case of it was a procedure in prison. It wasn't a case of we're going to do this and we're going to educate you and tell you something that you don't already know. Most of the things you need to know in prison you found out off your next door neighbour, your cellmate, or whoever it was that you went to at the time, mainly the people who've been in there for a while. And like, you know, on the induction in prison, it was more a case of don't use toothbrushes, don't share needles, don't share razors, hepatitis B, what to be aware of, what not to be aware of. Don't win things out, you end up double bubble, taking two things back off you. You end a pouch of tobacco today, I want 2. Next week, you don't pay me, there's a black eye, and then I want 4 then. It was more a case of that for the people who've not been in there before. Be aware of this, be aware of that. Don't turn out like Johnny Massive on the wing, because it's going to come unstuck for you, unfortunately. Just keep your head down and get on it. And to be fair, people say what's prison like, and I always say it's like being at school. You get your good teachers, you get your bad teachers, you get your good prisoners, you get your bad prisoners. Same at school, you get your good pupils and bad pupils. As long as you're fitting and you're willing to, if you're going to walk around there like Johnny Big Bollocks, then unfortunately you're going to come unstuck unless you are.
Grief.
Unless you are Johnny Big Bollocks. But the induction was not insightful at all, really. Didn't tell the teachers anything. It was more a case of.
Do you think because you'd already got a bit of knowledge? You know, again, you're not coming in as a first time, are you?
No.
You got mates on the wing.
Mm.
So again, just try and. Can you remember your induction at Forest Bank or the first prison you ever went to? At all?
Yeah, my first one at Forest Bank, it was very blurred.
Is that because first time in prison you're just crapping yourself?
Yeah.
You're worried, you're nervous.
Yeah, first time in, so it was a case of don't do this, do that, and right, just let me go back to my bed and buddy, put my head down and get my head around it. That I've just got right, buddy.
Do you think? I thought about this before. I asked someone on G-Wing and I got shot down. I said that maybe when people first come in, maybe you should keep them on the wing 4 or 5 days or a week, and then do the induction. For the simple reason, you know, help them out. Your first night induction, I did plenty of them on K-Wing and on G-Wing, which you tell people they'll be able to make a phone call next day if they haven't made one in reception.
Yeah.
You know, you take basic details out, whether they're concerned or whatever, and you know, if there's anything for the night staff they need to look after. Usually people, certainly at Forest Bank, the people who come in were usually on a first night watch, particularly young offenders, so you keep an eye on them all night and make sure they're all right, first timers. So, like I said, when you first go into jail, I would imagine, well, I was an officer. You know, a lot of my training just went straight on my head. First time you go into prison, you're like, whoa. But pretty much, I would imagine, like a prisoner.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I said, there's a lot about this sort of induction, whether it works, whether it's good enough. I know Forest Bank's induction to Strangeways induction, there was a massive difference.
Right.
It was an award-winning induction that Forest Bank did. Some officer there wrote it, and it was pretty shit hot. But if people aren't receptive because they just landed in jail, and you give them 3 days of induction, and their heads up their arse, they're missing their loved ones, they're tearful at night, they're fearful. Yeah, you're not going to learn out, are you?
No, I do think induction's there as a good thing for the newbies. Obviously, the lads who just left prison the week before and are back in the repeat offenders, it does nothing for them, but they still got to do the induction, haven't they?
Yeah, they usually fast track them like 2 days or something like that, I think.
Like, as you're saying, yeah, I would have thought that get sat down, spend a bit of time on the wing, on the unit, and get used to things, because it's a bit of a whirlwind, really. You don't really remember much.
Right, so G-Wing, it had quite a settled regime, didn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much same shit every day. So just try and tell people, again, bearing in mind these people might be first time in, what the regime was like, and whether you think it was a good regime. And also, sort of atmosphere on the wing. Was there a lot of incidents, you know, that sort of thing, again, just to give people an idea?
But it's first thing in the morning, you get up, you start to hear the doors getting unlocked. So there's a couple of doors getting unlocked. You hear the noise, you get up, either your cellmate gets up, or you go for some breakfast if you want something. Most people are like, oh, I'll just get another hour in bed, as if you've not got the opportunity to. So they stay in bed, try and get another hour.
Did you ever stay in bed on the healthcare?
No.
Why?
I wanted to be up and busy and film the day so I could sleep at night.
As soon as we could, weren't I?
Yeah, it was a case of like, get busy as you can through the day so you can sleep at night. Because you're sleeping all day, you're not going to sleep all night. And there's only...
Right, let's go back to G-Wing. We're not on healthcare yet. Yeah. Whoa.
So it's just a case of get up, go and get your hard-boiled egg or whatever it was for that morning, breakfast box and a tub of milk or whatever it was. Some people used to get up, get them, go straight back to bed. And then it was time for education, getting out for your education, your work. I ended up a cleaner on the wing, so it was a case of I was one of the first unlocked to go around sweep up.
Did they do education on the wing?
No, you had to go down to the education block in the main C and
So
D.
did they send people to it? I didn't used to think anyone from G-Wing went to education or work.
I would have thought so, yeah. So I would have
you know,
thought so.
we've been new in the jail.
In induction, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought they were even offered jobs, as it were.
I mean, when I got on there, I spent a few weeks on there before I got in Cat A's, and then when we got back off Cat A's, it was like, it weren't many weeks till I ended up on healthcare, but I couldn't say for definite, but I would have thought so. There were people going backwards and forwards, but maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But the regime's alright, friendly enough. We used to...
How much time out of cell?
Once I was clean, it was fine. I used to get...
What about people who, you know, first timers? How much sort of time out of cell? Can you remember what that was like?
You get nothing at all, really.
You did clean outs in the morning, didn't you?
Clean outs in the morning.
So explain that. Right, so yeah.
So we'd go around the cells. Well, before, obviously, they'd turn up. The lads would turn up at the cells. You'd get a brush, a mop, a bit of spray, clean your own cells. Right, you'd be grateful for it, really. Like, get it all nice and spruced up. It's where you're spending 23 hours a day. And then I got a job on the cleaners, so it was going round the cells. Yeah, lads, go and clean up. Some people were great. Yeah, no worries. So fuck that, I'm not fucking cleaning up. Fuck you. It's like, right, no worries, mate. It's your cell. So it was that more of a regime, and then going sweeping the landings, cleaning, effing out, doing that for a couple of hours until about 11 o'clock, something like that. Then we get banged up again, ready for dinner. The lads on the serverage sort out the dinners, unlocked again for a bit, and then back in, as I remember, back in for a count again before education.
Yep.
Yeah. See.
Exercise every day. Did you get exercise every day?
Yeah, we used to get exercise every day outside. Go and walk around the yard. Speak all the broken biscuits to people you hardly know. But yeah, it was exercise.
Did you get a bit of association on G-Wing?
At night time we did. From tea time we were open, after tea, and then once everything was put away.
This obviously is 2010.
Yeah.
So now there's no evening duties in prison. Evening duty as a member of staff, and for prison it used to be 6. You'd unlock, serve meals. I used to say feed, like I feed my daughter, but people, you know, get upset about prison language. So for purposes of the video, serve meals. But we used to feed people, and then they'd be out till round about 8, 8:15. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gone now. They serve meals a bit earlier, and after 6 o'clock, I don't believe anyone's out. So that period of time, every wing at Strangeways, back in 2010, 2011, even if you were banged up all day, you'd know 6 while 8, you'll get a shower, phone your loved one, have a mooch bout, get a burn, do your business or whatever. But as a cost-saving exercise, initially the Friday went, there was no evening duty at weekend. Weekends you're banged up at tea time, you'd have your tea and get banged up. Fridays was the first evening to go. That allegedly saved the prison service, I don't know, 60 million, just locking prisoners up for that 2 hours Friday. And now, like I say, 6 o'clock, everyone's banged up. So that period of association went.
Didn't know that.
There you go, it's changed a lot.
That, yeah.
So, you've done your time on G-Wing. This charming, good-looking, 6 foot, 12 stone prison officer came over from healthcare. That'd be me.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
What do you mean, all right? Yeah.
I was wondering then where you were going with that, but that's you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm not 12 stone. All right, I lied a bit.
Yeah.
So, came over. I remember it. Now, I thought it was K-Wing, but when you pointed it out, they were getting rid of yourself and some of the cleaners.
Yeah.
For me, G-Wing was getting rid of you, not because you weren't good at your job, because you would be challenging, and I don't mean in personality or the way you behaved, you'd be challenging for the cleaning officer. That particular cleaning officer who'd phoned me up and said, you know, I'm getting rid of this rabble. Just tell me, no names, no genders, just tell me about, in your own words, that cleaning officer. And then I'll say my little bit.
The person was just, I don't know, a little bit direct, and rather than being a conversation speaking to somebody, the person would speak at somebody. And it started with a bit of once, twice a week, once, twice a day. And then just all the time it becomes a bit monotonous, where you go, you know what, I'm not being spoken to like that, and have some of it back. And it wasn't a case of an altercation, it was a case of grinding claws on a blackboard. It became.
I'm going to say my bit about this prison officer now. This particular prison officer, and before I say this, it's not a disclaimer, I'm going to tell you, I work with lots of fantastic prison officers, yeah. However, this one officer they spoke to other staff like they spoke to prisoners, which is talking at them, and, you know, they weren't a nice person. They were a bully, not by stature, but by the fact they used, shall we say, their sexuality and other things to get places, if that makes sense to people. There were lots of complaints went in against this officer. People have spoke before, so I'll briefly talk about prison complaints procedure, right? If prisoners have got a complaint, I used to encourage them to put that complaint in. At that time, the complaints was handled by prison staff, so the wing SO would empty the complaints box every day. Them complaints should be logged, and then they'd be sent on the way. First stage, I believe, couple of weeks for a reply. The stage after that, so if that was someone on the wing, like the complaint was against me, I'd answer that and send it back to the prisoner. If the prisoner weren't happy with what I'd said, it would then go to a governor, and then after that, I believe it would go outside the prison to the ombudsman. Something similar. It might not be completely correct, but I'm just trying to give you an idea. I know for a fact, on K-Wing, SO Bertie Bassett, I talk about him in my book, used to log every complaint. If the complaint was against him, it'd be logged. If it was against me, it'd be logged. He logged every complaint and dealt with them properly. At that time, on G-Wing, the SOs who were dealing with the complaints were shredding them. This particular officer got complaint after complaint after complaint about how they talk to people, how they treat people. You know, it weren't nice. And I'm saying this officer also spoke down to all staff and treat other staff like shit. I know on K-Wing, a certain SO, again, would do that. There'd be complaints going in against, again, there was another officer on there, numerous complaints, daily complaints, because they were an absolute dog. He talked staff, again, like shit, treat prisoners like shit, talked down to everyone, and them complaints got shredded. Before I left, the complaint system then went to civilians. So prison staff didn't have a key for the complaints box. Civilian staff would come around every day, empty the box and log it, and away it went. So there you go, that's the complaint system. So I would encourage anyone, you know, if you've got a loved one who's not happy with the system is there to complain, so do that. Right, so I decided I was going to employ you on healthcare.
Yeah.
That's not me full of self-importance. Like I said, the lads we had on healthcare, all the lads, pretty much, over my time on there, 7 years, were grafters. You'd unlock them at 7:30, lock them up maybe 8, 8:30 at 9. They'd be cleaning all day, 2 lots of showers to clean. Clean the servery twice a day, serve meals twice a day, help people clean cells, you know, a lot of mentally unwell people. They need to be good lads, they need to be trusted to work on their own. There were floors to polish. Over to you.
Yeah, there certainly were floors to polish, and there was some other stuff to pick up and move around as well, with the with the lads who were on there. There was some poorly people. But yeah, I remember you coming across the interview process, and I don't remember sending my CV off. But yeah,
No.
so we just
It was
got a job. Come on, get across here and
it was a 30-second interview process.
get your stuff in your bag. So
who are you? Why don't they want you? I've been told this.
Yeah.
Boom, and away you go.
Yeah. So it was nice. It was nice to get on. The best thing about healthcare was the single cell.
Right. Yeah. Do you
Single
know
cell,
what? People
big
have said
single
that.
cell, big
Yep.
single cell to yourself, own sink, toilet, and there were massive cells as well. They were like twice the size of the ones on G-Wing.
Yeah.
They were big.
Do you know why that is?
No.
Because it was a new building, mate.
Right.
Obviously, Strangeways. I mean, it might be obvious that, guys, but you know, it was deadly obvious when you bring these lads up and they dump the stuff in the door. They were like,
Massive.
wow.
Yeah.
The healthcare. It was built after the riots. It hadn't been up long. The cells were physically bigger. The doorways were bigger. They were, you know, they were an all-round better cell, more airy, better lighting, and obviously G-Wing's part of the Victorian jail. You know, cells are small, brick built, doorways. You couldn't alter the doorways, and like a lot of prisons, I didn't know this sort of program the other night. I don't know what G-Wing were like. Most of the wings at Strangeways, the windows were high up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them on K-Wing, you could just see out of, walk up to. Majority were high up. And I saw a documentary on Victorian jails saying they were built like that on purpose, so you couldn't see trees or outside.
Right.
All you could do was see the light and look up to God to make you think about what you'd done. I don't know whether that's right.
I think it worked, but yeah, it might be right.
Right, so you
Yeah, I never sat there and I thought, but where the tree's gone, I hope the big fella in the sky's going to help me.
Yep.
But
So
yeah.
just try and you know, it don't have to be long. What the staff were like on Strangeways, on healthcare. What the staff were like, the sort of people we had on there, without going into, you know, too much description, and you know, did you feel comfortable? Was it strange at first? You know, that sort of thing.
It was certainly different, unnerving at first. I remember the first.
Was it frightening?
Yeah, it was. It was, because I remember the cell that I got. The lad in the opposite cell was a very poorly man. Headbutting in the wall and shouting. Shouting all night. He was very poorly, but he was a Salford lad as well. So he had a proper mic to hang, and his window overlooked where people used to walk down for visits. So every 2 minutes, as soon as someone went past, he'd be, "Oi, Yozza, Paul, yo," whoever or something like that. But at the top of his voice, it was constant, and he just like, and the next minute he'd be headbutting the walls and banging on his door, and he was a very, very, very poor man. And then you get from that to the old man who's just bumming over there because he's suicidal, first time in prison, and depending on what he's done. He's obviously not in a very good place.
And how long were you on there? Can you remember?
I come over in January 2010 and I left in August 2010.
Right, so
It was just when the prison documentary was on. The Strangeways ITV, is it, that went in?
yeah, it were prison
ITV,
unfortunately, guys, that prison documentary got taken down. The company went bust, so you can no longer see it. So well, people's concerns, a lot of people upset at prison healthcare. Healthcare will be split in two parts. Where Daz worked as an orderly and I worked as an officer was the inpatient unit. In effect, that's a hospital wing. We had 22 beds. Officers used to come on that unit, particularly people working overtime. And it was the sort of, I can't remember how many times, you know, they'd come on, people need to know this is part of the jail, the nursing staff need to know this is a Cat A jet. Boring. Everybody on that unit knew it was dangerous. Some of the most dangerous people in Strangeways and in the prison system we had there and were housed there over the time I were there. All the staff were switched on. No nurses were going in nobody's cell without staff. There were always two staff when people were opened up, always. No one ever opened up on their own. Very few incidents on there. It was managed well. All the nurses and the officers got on really well, and they did the best. That was the inpatient unit. I'm going to have to ask Daz his honest opinion after. Outpatients downstairs was where your loved ones prisoners would go for the dentist, the optician, they'd have the bloods done, they'd see the nurses, they'd see the doctors. So everything you can get on the NHS was downstairs, and they had daily clinics. That were outpatients. Where I worked were inpatients. So absolutely honest review of your time on there. You know, we don't need to name individual people on there, but you know, if they were disturbing things or violence, or just tell me what your thoughts were. And interestingly enough, do you ever think back to that time? Is there anything that, you know, upset you, or I don't know, maybe a good memory or something like that?
I don't think there's anything that sticks with me or scarred me in a certain way. There was certainly incidents that opened my eyes, and I was like,
what about the staff?
Wow. Oh yeah, the staff are amazing. No, the staff.
Well, I don't think we've explained. Right, explain why we're sat here in your summer house.
I was going on holiday a few years ago with my wife as I walked past one of the famous bookshops, W.H. Smith's or something, in one of the town centres nearby where we live. And I seen the book Strangeways. Had a quick nose at it. Seen the author, Neil Samworth. I know him.
That's me.
My wife's gone, no way.
Me.
How do you know him? I said, we used to work together. Different wages, different hours, but we used to work together.
Whoa, different hours? I mean, more hours, didn't I?
Come on.
Was I always there?
No, you did lots of hours. You did lots of time there. You was locking me up at night and there first thing in the morning. But yeah, the wages were certainly different. £8 a week, and I'm sure you were on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she bought me the book. I read it while we went away on holiday. We might have even been on a honeymoon. It shows what a great marriage we got. And then when she got back, she got in touch with the publishers to get in touch with you to say, great book, Darren read it, just wanted to reach out and say hello. Thought it was good. At its certain points where I could relate to it and go, oh, fucking hell, blooming it, yeah, or certain things like that. I've suffered with mental health and things in the past, so it was certainly a good read, and things where you brought up, it was like very detailed, some of the things that I forgot. It's like, there was a certain Queener that was on the wing as well. I won't mention his name.
Yep.
There was a bit of one of the lads, he had a bit of an accident, assaulted in prison, and he ended up very poorly with it.
Yep.
But he ended up on the Queeners, and then there was the old boy who unfortunately died of cancer.
He's not here, we can talk about him. Very sad, this. He was called Eric Whiteside. He was on healthcare a long time. He had as an orderly. He got locked up in 1966 for a manslaughter charge. He killed his girlfriend. Like I say, he's no longer here now. You know, I weren't there at the time, but it was manslaughter, not murder. You know, there's some mitigation. Didn't die immediately. Anyway, I don't know what sort of sentence he got, but the first time he got out was early 2000s. So he was locked up during the World Cup. He got out for about 18 months, so he'd be getting on a bit now. He got with a lass. She phoned police on him. A bit of a row. No hands on. You know, he didn't hurt her, but he's getting on a bit now. He got locked back up, and the judge told him he won't be getting out again. So, 1966. I think, did he die while you were on there?
No, he was still alive when I left there, but he was in a poor condition, weren't he?
Yeah, probably, maybe 2012. So 1966, he was out for 2 years, and he died in about 2012 on the healthcare. Let me tell you a word on that. Prison is not a good place, we know that. People who come onto the healthcare end of life, like Eric, bless him, the nurses tried their very best, and it was as close to hospital and as much care as they could give. Yeah. So not everyone might be like Strangeways. Certainly Forest Bank, the healthcare staff, we had people end of life there. Some people do go to what do you call the places where they go?
Hospice to die.
Hospice. Some people end of life do go to hospices. Eric asked whether he could stay on the healthcare and be looked after the nurses. It was discussed, him going to a hospice. So they looked after him until his death. But yeah, 1966, 2 years out to 2012. You know, and you look at sensing now, way different. Anyway,
Yeah.
Back to you. Yeah, I remember him quite well.
Yeah, I remember Eric. Obviously the other lad.
Yep.
And there was...
Oh, we were saying how we come to meet. So, you never finished that bit.
Yeah. So, we got in touch with the publisher. Publisher got in touch with you or sent you a message via email. And then...
I got your last sentence.
My wife's
they
number.
forwarded it, yeah.
And said, by the bar, remember Darren.
I just got to stop you there. Yep. Mrs. is bringing us a brew now. We'll let her pop her head in. We don't want her having too much to do with this interview. I've got a big cup as well. This is what real porridge is going to be like. Real people, real lives, no studio. Come and just say hello.
Say hello.
Hi. Thank you, love.
Biscuits next time as well.
I don't do biscuits. Right, so...
yeah, she got in touch with you.
Did I send my number or did she...
Yeah, you sent her a text. She passed on details. You sent her a text message saying, "Oh, this is where I'm, blah blah blah. This is my husband."
Yeah.
And then a few weeks, couple of months later, we met up in the traffic centre, didn't we, for a coffee?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
What's the coffee?
I believe I bought all the coffees, did I?
No, we weren't like that.
Are you sure? Right, okay.
Possibly.
Let me tell you why we're here, because obviously this is a two-way thing. So I've had lots of messages from people. People like Daz, like I say, his missus, you know, someone's taking the time out, they've read my book. Prison officer training. They always tell you, friendly, not friends. God, you know. That sort of thing. So, I knew Daz were straight away. As soon as she said, I knew who we were. I remember everyone. Can't always remember everyone's names, but I remember all Audley's. You know, for me, he was a decent lad. Yeah, criminal history. That's irrelevant. I have to look, and always have done, how people behave and treat other people. So on there, like I said, we had sex offenders, rapists, paedophiles, all manner of unwell people, mentally unwell. The single cell thing, they love that, but let me tell you, there's a lot of sleepless nights on there. You'd have people banging all night. We used to have the worst detoxes, alcoholic detoxes, smashing cells for 3 days. So I remember Daz, just got on with it. They just get on. You don't have to tell them anything. You have to trust them. A lot of the work they do is unsupervised. Never a bad word. Universally liked by the nursing staff and officers alike. So there's no issues. There's no problem here with me ever. I've seen as an officer, lots of prisoners, particularly when I lived in Little Alton, who were out. They used to say, "You're right, Mr. S, Mr. Samworth, whatever. What are you doing here?" And I point, I live there. That's my masonette. That's my car. My motorbike's in that garage. Yeah, no problem. No, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's not an issue for me. And it's nice meeting up with people and seeing where they are. So, yeah, we did meet. We went to Trafford Centre. Met the guy's missus. I've met the kids. We're now in Cheshire. Sorry, Stockport. Doing this little interview. Real porridge. I will be interviewing Daz and his missus together, Anita. I'm going to be doing an interview with his daughter. And, you know, these guys are sort of, well, good mates, good mate. It's easy. It's like I've been going here for years. It's a cosy house. You're welcome. You give them brews. It's just, you know, it's just like going to any other friends. There's no issues there, like, so, bump. But I think a lot of that has to do with how these guys are and how I am.
Two-way.
You know, I'm quite sure lots of prison officers aren't meeting up with people or whatever. You know, I'm not making no judgment on that. A lot used to like try and keep the lives separate, but for me, you know, life is what it is. And like I say, if someone's taking trouble to get in touch with me, you know, they bought my book, read it. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Let's engage in that.
No, it was never a case of them and us. With prison officers, it was always a case of you've got a job to do. I've got to sit around for a bit until the time goes where the door opens and we go.
See,
if it weren't you doing it, it'd be somebody else doing the job. It was never a personal thing, and it was never treated in any kind of derogatory. So away by you or
you're going off track now. I'm going to reel you back in. You know, show that authority I've still got over you.
Mm-hmm.
Not.
Go on.
Right, Daz. So just talk about, so people can get the inpatient unit. Just briefly, how the staff behaved. Just be perfectly honest. If you think the nurses just did what they needed to do, or the officers just.
No, like I say, there was different types of prisoners on there, different needs, different from some that were very, very poorly to just mildly poorly. The staff, the nurses.
You get blaggers on there?
Of course you do. Of course you do. They're in debt and they want to jump off the wing because they're going to get a good hiding. So they're going to kill themselves so they can have a couple of days of rest. And
That's a good brew, that.
Think what they're going to do. That's why I married her.
Good enough. Carry on.
So yeah, they think what they're going to do. Some people just want to get off a different wing and get on there. But yeah, everyone's got their issues. Everyone's got the problems. We've all been there. The staff, amazing. Not amazing as in booming. Amazing that way. The care that used to be given to the patients, the prisoners, the customers, as you like to refer to them.
I'm going to pull you up there. You, Al, if I'm describing you to one of my friends, like I say, I've been to Daz's, who's Daz, an ex-customer, that's instead of using ex-prisoner, ex-offender, because, there's a stigma there. However, when you were in prison, you were a prisoner, not a customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And those people on social media that are going, he calls prisoners customers. No, I didn't. They were prisoners. He's now an ex-customer. And I would only use that, if I go and see my mate and he says, where were you? I say I went to see Daz and Anita. I won't say I went to see ex-customer, Daz and Anita. Yeah? They're friends. But if I'm talking about someone in relative to one of the projects we're going to be undertaking, then that shows you where people are coming from or whatever.
So yeah, the care was very good, very caring nurses. I remember Miss Kenny. I remember I used to call the school teacher. I never remember her name.
Miss Fraser.
Miss Fraser with the black glasses, small black hair.
Yeah.
And there was another nurse there from
Miss Bradbury.
Miss Bradbury. Yeah. Those are three I remember, and they were great from talking to people, to giving assistance and help and guidance, to fucking cleaning up fucking shit and blood and fucking crap and everything.
Yep. You did your fair share of that, I believe.
Yeah, we did that. We didn't have to see it and go through it. We always seen the aftermath, didn't we, really, of what was going on. There was one guy, I remember, who cut himself in front of us as walking past his door. There was fucking blood everywhere, and you're like, that's going to sting in the morning. But yeah, he was obviously very poorly.
Let me just tell you there, in case anyone's thinking, hold on, ex-prison officers or whatever, there are procedures in place within the prison system for cleaning up bodily fluids, blood, urine, feces, cleaning cells. Yeah? However, on the healthcare, if you've got a lad who's self-harmed and his cell's covered in claret, we never had spare cells, we would, the nursing staff particularly, would encourage that person to clean their own cell, but some people needed a hand, some people weren't well. So you can either wait for 2 or 3 days for that cell to be recommissioned, or the nurses are going, the nurses at end of the day, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. They put on their aprons, they put on the gloves, they clean up shite, piss, urine, blood, whatever, all these different products. They just got on with it. A couple of times when we'd had sort of disruptive prisoners, these aren't prisoners who should have been on the healthcare, but like Dad says, they might be in debt on the wing, they say they're going to kill themselves, they end up on healthcare, they realise there were no smoking. The healthcare had a no smoking policy way before the prison system. Way before. That was brought in by the health authority, as in hospitals you can't smoke in them. For me and the staff, it was cruel, because a lot of the people who were mentally unwell who were brought to healthcare were smokers. So you imagine you're mentally unwell, you're not in a good place, you can't smoke. However, like I said, the health authorities implemented that. So there is procedures in prison for dealing with dirty cells, that sort of thing, but the nurses just used to crack on. And the orderlies, although there's no provision for them guys doing that, would do the same, like I said, which is, I had a lot of respect for them, and you didn't have to plead or anything, they just get on with it, like I said. So back over to you, Daz.
Yeah, we had 1 or 2 different faces on there, from self-harms to people. I remember there was an old bloke on there who just used to sorry for swearing, just used to get covered in excrement all the time, forever putting it in his
Smith.
Tommy was his name.
Yeah. He, again, is another guy who's no longer here. He didn't die in prison.
Yeah. Young, frail, old, frail man, wasn't it? Was he?
He wasn't as old as you think.
He didn't look very healthy. He always looked like he only had 2 weeks left every time I seen him.
Yeah, he
But
was not. He was
out.
not as old as you think, and he weren't as frail. And this guy, let me tell you, this guy's on about Daz. A couple of years before, so you know, we're talking 210, 211. Daz is on healthcare. He striked a nurse in North Manchester Hospital. He went in from the community. He messed himself. He was throwing excrement, shite, whatever you want to call it, around.
Yeah.
A couple of nurses were cleaning him up. He produced a razor blade and slashed her ear to mouth. So, and he still looked like that. So, you know, people's perception of some of these people you deal with on documentaries and that, frail old man, he weren't much older than me. Not that frail, and it don't matter how frail you are. There's a nurse now somewhere, bless her. I hope she's still in the job, who's scarred from ear to mouth. So just bear that in mind.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You know, and as I say, if you'd have gone in his cell when he was kicking off, people would be like, you know, why is he in hospital? Why is this frail? Well, you know, just think on. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Why would you?
He was the wrong end of 70, me. He was really.
He weren't that old, mate.
Really.
He weren't that old. But you know, he'd abused drugs and alcohol during his life, which does age people, doesn't it?
Very gaunt, wasn't he? Very gaunt, thin man. But
So,
yeah, I remember
so
him.
briefly, because you know, it's getting cold, but it's summer house. It's not summer. I'm sat here in my shorts. He's got long pants on. They call them pants in Manchester, anything long. Me, the trousers or tracky bottoms. So, just to round up, if you can, your experience of Strangeways, from Cat A's to G-Wing to healthcare. Is that it? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it was, to round it up, it was emotional, difficult at times, but get your head down, put on. You can do it. And luckily I had a good family, a good team around me to do that with getting visits week in, week out. But yeah, the difficult days, and it's like in life, you get difficult days, you get hard days and everything like that. Just crack on, remember the environment you're in, and just...
So, if you could go back and change things, would you have gone on healthcare? No, not that. You can't change that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
Your experience on healthcare, would you have stayed on there?
Yeah.
Gone to work on there, or would you have rather been someone else in the jail?
No, certainly. I mean...
Did you see a different side to some of the people who work in the prison service?
Yeah, there was different side. That it was much more personal rather than being on a wing on G-Wing. I don't know how many houses an OK wing's a bigger wing, but there's hundreds on a wing, whereas is it 10, 15, 30 maximum on healthcare?
22. We had 22 beds for patients.
Much more personal. It's much more personal, and you don't have to...
It is, but a lot of people outside that unit assumed, because it was a small unit, that it was easy to work on. You know, K-Wing, 200 prisoners.
Yeah.
Well, you've only got fucking 22, sort of thing.
But the people that were on there needed a lot more attention. Yeah, it was challenging. I weren't working there, but certainly day in, day out, it was certainly different. Whereas G-Wing that had just come off, it was very more laid back, a bit more of a regime, and if something did happen, it was spoken about, like, oh my god, have you heard this? Whereas in healthcare, someone cutting up or throwing shit would be like, done it again. It'd be much more of that kind of conversation.
Right, dudes, I've enjoyed my little chat with Daz. We're going to go back in the house now and chew some fat. Not literally. Hopefully there's cake or maybe a biscuit, like I said, involved. Real porridge. Right, so what it's about, it's going to be about talking to people like Daz, real people. Mental health's going to be a big part of it. If you've enjoyed our little chat, tell your friends. You know, tell them to go to YouTube, find my channel, tune in. If you see this video and you want to ask questions, ask questions. That's what it's about. So I'm going to sign off now, like I say. This might well be my first video. I've done a couple that haven't quite worked out. But I'm going to do them again. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Good to see you again, Sam.
My mate Daz, like I said, we're going in the house. We're not, you know, there's nothing like that though, is there?
No, nothing like
it's
that.
not, you know. What do they call it when bromance?
Yeah.
Bromance.
None of that, mate.
No. Thanks for watching Real Porridge. Tell your friends, like, subscribe and share. See you soon.
See you later.
Cheers.